Buenos Dias Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict, right? And as you can tell by that thumbnail right there, we are talking about them skins, those skinheads, how they function, how they wiggle, how they move within the California Department of Corrections, because they begin their wiggle on. In a menudo style in direct fashion, man, we're going to touch on the simple fact that forever and a day, these vatos have been marching to their own beat, homes, their own música. Sabes que I don't know if it's Slayer, Black Sabbath, whatever the fuck it is, bro. But they're going to continue to march to that beat and continue to do what they done, right? But at the other end of that rainbow, there's always an opposition, man. And it seems like that opposition has been the Norte. Now, I don't know what's going on, man, with these end of hostilities, all these new things that are going on. So I can't really speak on if they're still on them yardas wiggling like they used to. But I know at one point in time, man, it was a bad situation in a lot of different places for a long time, right? So let's get straight to it. I did time in Susanville, vatos. I did time in Susanville, and anyone that's ever been to Susanville will know that that is labeled the White House. It's the White House. It's Susie's house, but it is the White House. Reason being that it seemed like this was the only place predominantly where they sent whites, right? And not necessarily just woods or regular old white men. They sent a lot of skinheads, homes, and you ran into a lot of different factions, man. And I could sit here all day and all night and talk about all the different group factions, you know, like the P9s as far as to the United States skins, so on and so forth, man. You had Fame, you had just a lot of different woods and skins, man, a lot of different factions, Sacramaniacs, Fresnex, so on and so forth. What I will tell you is this was a very dangerous group. Okay, these white boys got theirs on. And in that fashion, they all stuck together on their part of the yarda. They all maintained, they all functioned as they were supposed to, and they were getting it, right? There's no doubt about that. And I remember going out to the yarda, man, and being a Norteño, an active Norteño, and kicking it with the homeboys on our side of the yarda, on our bars next to the others and the Africanos, and we were just doing our thing, maintaining, just taking our counts and just doing us. And the white boys were numerous. I remember because we used to have to count, and I used to say, fuck, there's a lot of white boys. The count was... It was great. Put it like that. Only in this one place. See, I've been to several other yards where the white boys were at a minimal. If not a minimal, pretty even kill with the Norteños. But right here, man, they were just so deep at the White House. And the funk never popped off. The funk never popped off, but you could tell there was always an underlying tension there. There was always some type of animosity, even more so with the white boys than there was with the Sureños. Now, that would trip you out, man. But the history goes way back between the NF and of course the AB, right? Where the AB decided, if for no other reason, to click up with the Carnales down south, man, and the NF, they took the NF on as an enemy, right? So there was always that animosity over the years, man. There was a lot of deaths on both sides, a lot of warring on both sides. And so it was always an unspoken thing that, man, when you get incarcerated, when you get locked up in the California Department of Corrections, the white guys are going to be the adversary. Okay, and I had a lot of cool white homeboys from the Calles. Homeboys that were not really into that racial shit, were not really playing that, man. They used to bump some Mac Dre, some Tupac, so I guess some Too Short. But of course, you know, there's different rules and regulations in prison. Okay, so you get incarcerated in prison, you have to roll with your people. That's not just movies, so that's not just for fakes, no, it's for reals. Okay, you get in there, you're at the dictation of your people. It's better to roll with your own than against your own. Okay, so a lot of these white boys that were just out there, man, just kicking it. The young white men, man, they're just doing their thing. They're out there on skateboards, oh my, right? And just chilling. Well, now they find themselves incarcerated for one reason or another. And now they have to go over there and program with the vatos that have been doing it. You got a lot of skinheads that come out of Orange County, homes, and they're a very prominent group. And they're true believers in their cause. They're true believers in that shit. That's just them. Okay, can't take none from them. I'm not one way or the other against what they got going on, man. If they preach hate, if they preach what they preach, man, that's their thing. Let them preach it. Practice what they preach. Orale, in that fashion. But at the same time, I will say that a lot of vatos get locked up, and at the end of the day, they're like, damn, I wasn't even into this shit. Well, guess what? You're going to program. Oh, yes, you're going to program with your group's rules and regulations, because if not, you're going to get programmed on. That's just the way it is. And I've seen a lot of instances and a lot of situations where vatos find themselves in a wreck. Of course, I wasn't privy to the conversations that went on behind the scenes on why this vato got removed or why it was going to happen this way or that way. But quietly as it's kept, just from the outsider looking in, and seeing across the yarda, I could tell that the Vato wasn't really about that business. Okay, I'm not gonna say he wasn't about his business and he wasn't about to fucking get off on the yard. Oh, I think a lot of these Vatos are down to do that. Most people are, man. They get in that position, they get on that yarda, and they're down to hold their own. Just like that Vato on Shot Caller says, man. You know, I ain't here to start no shit, but I ain't taking no shit either, right? I think the Vatos weren't trying to take no shit, but Samske, they just weren't down with the extracurricular activities that this group was pushing. Okay, and how did it come to that point? How did it come to that superiority point and that point where these Vatos decided that they were better than everyone else? It's not like that. Because, see, a lot of people get the misconception, man, thinking that, oh, man, they're the white power. It's all about hate, hate, hate. Nah, it ain't nothing like that, bro. You know, this is just the movement that they push. You can't be mad at the man for doing what he does, right? Only if it impedes your progress and what you got going on, homes. If it ain't fucking with me, I ain't gonna fuck with it, straight up. And that's just the way it is. Okay? But growing up as a young kid all the way into an older adult, it seems like there was always problems with the gabas, is what we called them, right? No disrespect, gente. The white man, right? And I'm going to tell you a couple stories. You know, as a youngster growing up, going from NRCC to Fred C. Nellis, man, I'm going to tell you right now, there wasn't no white boys there. And if there was maybe 4 or 5 of them. And these guys had to be hard as clavo. They had to be hard as rocks, bro. Pierdas. Straight rocks, okay? They had to be harder than mountains, bro, to survive there. Because I'm not going to lie, man, they were getting taken advantage of. People were fucking persecuting them and riding on them just because of their numbers. And not only for their numbers, just because they were white homes and people weren't playing that shit. You know, there were some Vatos that went in there, man. Shout out to Little Man, the Inland Empire, man. You already know what it is. Vato got in there and he was about his business. He wasn't taking no shots and he was going to represent that woodpile to the fullest. And he did that. He did that, absolutely. And he had a lot of respect because everybody knew the way he carried himself, And he wasn't no biggest fighter in the world. And he wasn't the baddest motherfucker on the planet. But what he was respectful, really about his business. He was a true one and a real one. And people respected that. And he did his time. Now, a next guy would come along like Johnny Come Lately, homes, and get Johnny Come Down Lately. You know what I mean? It was ugly. It was ugly. There was ugly situations there. Going up north, there was a little bit more of a woodpile, a little bit more white. Some they wiggled just a little bit more. They were a little bit deeper. I've always noticed the white boys are a little bit deeper up north. You know, you have Butte County, Cocoa County, Shasta County, all them counties, Sacramento on back, Yuba, and there'd be a lot more white boys. You know, but that's not to say, man, that some of them weren't catching the blues or they weren't giving people the blues, because it was going vice versa with every group section, with every group faction. In prison, CYA, juvenile hall, on the calles, everyone's going to win some, everyone's going to lose some. That's just the way the world works, right? It keeps spinning, homes, it keeps grinning, and you keep on doing what you do. You know, we're just here. Now, I can't say that we ever got into it with any of the white boys up north, right? There was a couple times, man, where there was a little bit of animosity and the funk was almost about to pop off, and we were about to get with the programa, but it never seemed to go that route. We knew where they stood, and they knew how we stood. You know, and you got to understand why it was a little bit different, man. It wasn't like they were functioning alongside the Southsiders. That alliance wasn't there. Okay, they knew about prison and they knew that that's the route they were supposed to go, but they were kind of just doing their own thing. And the Southsiders didn't need them anyways. They were like, Sasuke, what the watcha? So, you know what I mean? In that fashion. You guys do it over there. So they were kind of on their own. Okay, but they held it down. You know, they held it down. Those that were willing to hold it down, held it down. They did their thing. They marched to their drum beat, like I said, and it was what it was, man. We weren't tripping. As long as they didn't get our way, we didn't get in their way, and everyone programmed, you know? At the end of the day, we were all young kids, man, just trying to fucking earn stripes and get on out of there. And for the most part, that's what most of us did. Now, growing older and going to prison, you know, I get to Tracy, and in Tracy, you know, we are just coming off lockdown. Okay, we were just coming off lockdown because there was an incident where the Wolfpack faction, which is a woodpile faction, had got into it with the Nortenos, and the Nortenos had killed a couple of them. Okay? Flighted them off the yard. See you later. Bon voyage. Orale hasta luego. You got to go. Now, I don't know what started this tension between the two groups, but something happened, and Vatos had got meta-flighted, so of course they put the Norteño faction as well as the white faction on lockdown. And it was crazy because you used to pull up to Tracy, and when you pull up to Tracy, there was a thing that said dual vocational institution Tracy, and it would say, you know, if you're pulling up, it would say Happy Thanksgiving at Thanksgiving time, or today's Wounded Warrior Day, or today's fucking Hoto fucking Don't Do It Day. Hey, but this one said Northerners lockdown, whites lockdown, right? Bam. So I was like, damn, bro, I'm coming right into a lockdown situation. But right when I pulled up to the fucking building, they were just releasing us off lockdown. In fact, the next yard was going to be the very first yard. So was it going to crack or was it not going to crack? That was the question. Okay, at that time. And it didn't crack. It didn't crack because most of these white boys had regulated their own. They thought that if for no other reason, man, this Wolfpack faction were doing a little too much, man, and they pretty much had shipped all of them out anyways. Of course, man, greater minds think alike, man. Vatos got at each other. It's like, hey, as long as you guys ain't making a move, we ain't making a move. We're all going to fucking make this move, and we're going to do it in that fashion. And that's the way it progressed on, right? So we avoided a big, what could have been a catastrophe there for a lot of people. Now, you got to understand, Tracy is a stronghold for the Nortenos in the Central Valley. You know, a lot of vatos from Merced, Madera, Modesto, Stockton, all the way far up is to Sacramento. You have vatos from San Juan and everything. They get busted in the counties and boom. But for the most part, it's going to be the Central Valley, the 209, the 559. A lot of vatos are there. And they're thick, deep. Norteños are pretty deep there, right? And it's a different element of wiggleization, man. I'm not going to say that the vatos in the Bay ain't doing their thing, but I'm saying the vatos in the Valle are just a little bit more cholo status, right? Just a little bit more with it as far as the gangster shit, right? Now, the Bay Area, they're fucking gangster fights too, and they'll handle their business, right? I'm just saying the Central Valley is predominantly motherfuckers looking for that action. that's how I could say it, okay? And I was right there in the mix. Of course, like I said, the white boys, the skinheads, and there wasn't too many skinheads in the Central Valley. There's a lot more woods. You know, I kicked it with woods on the guys, man. I had a couple homeboys that used to be woods. I'm talking about straight woods, bro, but they were down. They were down to go do holidays, man. They were just cool people, cool gente. Like I said, man, motherfucker, the first one that ever showed me an NWA CD when I was young, I'm talking about a little kid, was a white boy. He put it in there, he was like, gangster, gangster. I was like, what is that gangster? I'm telling you, okay, it's just the way it was. And I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to this have had that experience. But catastrophe was avoided at that point in time, man. And I'm glad that it was, because I always felt a good kinship, man, not only to the white boys, but, you know, as far as the Africanos too. All people, man, I ain't tripping off no one else as long as they're not tripping off me. It seems like for the most part, more times out of 10 homes, we were tripping off our own gente, raza, which was ridiculous, you know. But anyways, let me tell you another little story. So I'm out of state, right? I'm doing time, and I'm in this shoe program. I'm in the shoe program. I picked up a little case. I'm in the shoe program. And I've probably been there about 6 months. And on the tira, you have a top tira and a bottom tira. And whoever's in there is about fucking... There's 6 cells on the bottom, 6 cells on top. So that's 12 people. They're there. They're not going nowhere. You're not leaving. So you're going to be there for the duration, right? So everybody gets used to everyone's program. It's a pretty quiet tier, but we do communicate. There was a couple Sureños on the tier, a couple Norteños on the tier, a big Samoan, one Africano, a couple white boys, and then there was one Crip, and then a blood comes in. So when the blood comes in, right, he gets there, and of course, he's a little bit different than us. He doesn't know the way that we function and the way that we program on these tiras. You know, so he's coming in like, oh, what's up, fam? What's up, blood? What's up, this? What's up, that? And everyone's like, you know what I mean? Hit him with one of those. And I'm in the middle, and he goes onto the right-hand side, which is the last cell, and next to me is a fucking white boy named War, right? Good, solid white boy, but this skinhead boy, he ain't tripping, right? He was a stone cold killer, put it like that. And so the Africano comes in, and me and Warhead had this thing where we used to chop it up, conversate, you know, and he would shoot me magazines. He had every magazine coming in, bro. He'd shoot me all the way from deer and hunting to low riding magazine. But he'd shoot me all the magazines, let me peep them out, of course, respectfully. I'd shoot them back to him, and that was how we kept it, you know, real respectful and real, you know, he was just merely an associate, but we were cool. And we had kept that going for a while, about 6 months. So this Vato shoots me a magazine. It's a FHM magazine. He shoots me a FHM magazine. I'm peeping it out. And I guess the Africano had been at his door because it was all like, pretty much like the tira right here, like cells, right? But they had these little holes, just like the shoe in California. And I guess that he had seen the magazine. Anyways, he knocks on my wall and he's like, hey, brother, can I get at you? I'm like, what's cracking? He's like, hey, you think I could look at that magazine after? I said, oh, bro, I can't let you do that. It's not my magazine. He was like, hey, can you ask that white boy next door if I could look at it? Right? I said, I mean, you could ask him, bro. He's right there. You feel me? And he's like, hey, white boy. Hey, white boy. Right? And War goes, what's up, black boy? Right? And I'm like, oh, here we go. You know, here we go with that weird shit, right? And he was like, oh, why you got to be racist? Why you got to take it there? And he goes, no, I'm a white man, bro. Right? And of course, they had to work it out between them. There were some words spoken, some disrespectful words. I don't really want to go into them right here on YouTube. I don't want to mess up with none of the hente's head. Let's just say, man, they weren't PG. Orale. Or R. Right? You know what I mean? They were pretty bad. They kind of beefed and got into it. Some words were spoken. At the end of the day, cooler heads prevailed. And they realized that neither were going to win on the tier. And it just wasn't a route that they wanted to go. Hey, and a couple months later, they even had a conversation and they kind of killed the noise as far as doing something. Of course, no magazines were ever passed that way, right? And I understand, and understandably so. You know, people had their own views. Like, you know, you got to understand that this vato that had got there, he had maybe been on yards where, you know, the white guys bowed down to him or it was cool like that, you know, and this guy was a true believer this guy Ward was a true believer in his cause. He was a righteous skinhead. He was a real one. He had his views, his beliefs, and that's just the way he felt. And Sasuke, I'll never forget that day because I was right there like, damn, what did I do? But it wasn't my fault. Sasuke, I was reading FHM. I was bang, bang. Beep, beep, boop, boop, boop. I was winning, right? I know I was winning. Anyway, so just over the years, there's been developed a war, you know, between North and skinheads. And I'm not going to necessarily say just skinheads. I'm saying the Woods, the Skins, that whole group faction, because they kind of run together. And I remember in Susanville, man, the skinheads were deep. You know, you go a lot of places, man, and it's mostly predominantly Woods, the Woodpile. They're the ones running the whole show. You know, you don't never know who's fucking doing what for the other group faction, man. It's not set up that way for you to know. It's none of your business anyways, right? If you can figure out a target that sounds good, you know, that's great. But for the most part, man, you're not going to know who's doing what. It's going to be the little skinny guy with the glasses in the corner, man, that's running the whole show. You just never know. Definitely ain't going to be fucking Wes Watson. I'm going to tell you that much. So the Vatos are over here, and I'm starting to notice that there's a lot of fucking skinheads on this yarda, right? And what I didn't know, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, man, because like I said, man, I ain't part of the white faction, never was, but at the same time, man, I did a lot of tiempo with them, and I will tell you that there was like a big time inner confliction, man, between the Woods and the skinheads, man. I think they had two different idealisms. I think there was two different ways that they were wiggling, and they knew they were all supposed to be under one umbrella and doing their thing as a white race, but there always seemed to be some lightweight animosity, and this was the only place where I was where the skinheads were like the majority, hums, even deeper than the Woods, and they were pushing that motherfucking, that steel-toe boot down, hums. They were, you know what I mean? They were trying to fucking implement their little program. I seen it. Other homeboys noticed it. We were on our toes. We were ready. Pedazos this big. Game would have been over. Bang, bang. You know what I mean? Orale, Mario Brothers. It would have been a wrap. Anyways, just over the years, like I said, there's always been that underlying animosity. But really, is there? At the end of the day, you look at it, man. You could have white homeboys on the calles, Africano homeboys on the calles, Usos, whatever the case may be, Native American, indigenous people. You could have, your friends are your friends, bro. You can't dictate who your friends are at the end of the day, man. You meet a Vato when you're young. You don't give a fuck what he is or what kind of ethnicity he is or where he comes. You know what I mean? You're just friends are friends, homeboys are homeboys, you know? And then when you grow up and you get go into a land like the California Department of Corrections, it's its own world, hums. It's its own entity. It's something totally different, bro, and you have to adapt to it. And Vatos that were hella cool, homes, so I ain't gonna be none of this. It's gonna be a whole lot of this. You know what I mean? So you gotta let that go, and you gotta roll with your people. At the end of the day, man, it's about rolling with your people and doing what you do. But there has always been that tension between the Nortenos and the skinheads, and there's been a lot of lives lost on both sides. There's been meta flights, and motherfuckers will get with the program. You know, I've seen some white boys. I can't even speak on it. But what I will say, man. Vatos heads, oh yes, there will be sangre. Heads were rolling. Put it like that. Heads were rolling. You know, you don't sleep on them boys, man. Them boys right there, they're a different level. You know what I mean? They're a different level. They're, I used to come, the fucking maniacs. Them Vatos are crazy. You know what I mean? Give them their just due, but at the end, just tell them, get the fuck away from me. So I was get Buffalo Bill. I fuck me. Would you? No, I wouldn't, bro. Get away from me. Crazy ass white guy. But I got respect for him. You know, like I said, respect is the biggest word, almost the biggest word when it comes to the penitentiary, the biggest word in life in general. You know, as long as you have respect, you garner it and you give it, then everything's going to be just fine. If not, so I don't know what to tell you, pobrecito, bye-bye, you know? Anyways, I hope that you move fast with a purpose. I hope that you got everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about struggling hard for your family. That's the ones that count, man. Your homeboys that are around you, they're always going to be there. They're always going to show you that love, show them that respect. It is what it is. Business time. The gun. Please like and subscribe. If you don't like this video, I don't know what to tell you. I did my best. Bang, bang. The gun. It's nothing but love and respect for everybody.